Coming up next, a new wave 80s duo tell us the story of writing one of the quintessential pop culture hits of the 80s. One of the singers was actually really worried about using the band's name in the chorus of this song, thinking it would be really cheesy. Instead, it became a part of the lexicon of the decade, with a video music to match it that now has to have a warning on it due to its wacky cinematography that could cause medical issues. The story behind this pop culture classic, take you right back to the 80s, is coming up next. Hey music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you used to watch MTV like it was going out of style, 24/7 like I did, this is your place. Man, back in the 80s, it was just so great. Subscribe below right now to be a part of our daily celebration of the rock era with the interviews to match, and look us up on Patreon. So it's time for another episode of our series Revelations. This is where featured artists reveal rare stories about their greatest songs. On this installment of Revelations, we go behind a number 2 hit that added a new catchphrase to our culture, while the number 1 hit that week added a new expression or a dance to our culture in Walk Like an Egyptian by the Bangles.
Walk like an Egyptian.
Wang Chung's Everybody Have Fun Tonight, Everybody Wang Chung Tonight, that became a mainstay in our cultural vernacular. Now, both members of the duo, Jack Hues and Nick Feldman, they're going to tell us how they crafted the pop hit and how producer Peter Wolf talked them into keeping their band name in the chorus and how they came up with this iconic music video. Really compelling story. We've got both of them to tell it. It's coming up next. Now, as we go into this episode, I want to thank our sponsor, Zenni Eyewear. I'm wearing my clear pair of Zennis today. You can go to their website and you can design your own any way you like it and any way you want it. And you have them delivered right to your door. You can see how you look with their mirror feature. It's really cool. Go to zenni.com and check it out. Here's the story of Everybody Have Fun Tonight. So Mosaic, another great album that picked up the second it came out. You know, Everybody Have Fun Tonight. Number 2 hit behind Walk Like an Egyptian.
Walk like an Egyptian.
It was number 1 in the R&R chart.
And also number 1 in Canada. I remember when I was watching Cheers with my parents and Frasier used that.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, Wang Chung, you know.
Everybody Wang Chung Tonight.
But tell me about how that song came together, because I think it's the only hit song ever that has used the band name as a verb. Because Bad Company and all these, but nobody ever uses it as a verb.
At the time, I think it was, obviously in rap, that's become much more common, but at the time it was almost considered slightly bad taste to do that. You're sort of bigging yourself up in a song. It started off as I come up with this sort of chorus, Everybody Have Fun Tonight, and I played it to Jack. And I was expecting him to go, well, I quite like the music, but Everybody Have Fun Tonight, that's terrible. Yeah. But he sort of, to my amazement, thought it was quite good. And then developed a song around it, which was it's almost like a Hey Jude type tempo. Hey Jude, don't make it bad. And it
started out as kind of a ballad, right?
It did, yeah. So it was very, very different in character. And we demoed that up. And then the Peter Wolf, our producer, we played it to him, and he was like, well, it's a fantastic idea, Everybody Have Fun. Jack had ad-libbed Everybody Wang Chung Tonight, just one of the choruses. It was just throwaway, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And so Peter Wolf was like, Everybody Have Fun Tonight, Everybody Wang Chung Tonight. That's brilliant. Rewrite the song like, and make it faster and just, you know. So that's what we did. Yeah. It came together in the studio, really. We were recording Mosaic, and it sort of just evolved. You know, usually we'd go into the studio with everything written and prepared, but this time that came about in quite a spontaneous way. The final version of it. Yeah.
And the video, such an iconic video. That the In fact, somebody said that it was banned in some places because somebody thought it would cause epileptic seizures, right?
Exactly right. Yeah.
You know?
In the UK, they banned.
But
Yeah.
tell me
RTB,
about recording the video.
The video was great because we got to work with Kevin Godley and Lol Cream, and they were the sort of top boys in the game at that time, you know.
Every breath you take.
And it was a great video to make because what we had to do was just stand as still as we possibly could and deliver the song, you know, and delivered it like sort of 20 times or something. And then some poor guy who probably had a nervous breakdown actually physically cut the little bits of, you know, celluloid together to make that video. It was a, you know, amazing bit of post-production.
I remember when it was on Alvin and the Chipmunks and stuff, and
Yeah.
as a kid, you knew that's when your favorite band had made it, when Alvin and the Chipmunks
Yeah.
covered. You know? I mean, it's been Beavis and Butthead, Futurama, Veronica, Mars, that 70s
Yeah.
shows, How I Met Your Mother.
So, do you want a Wang Chung tonight?
I don't know. Why don't you just call it Operation Wang Chung, ass?
Everybody have fun tonight. Jack and Crack Witch Week.
What's that guy doing back there?
He's Wang Chunging.
We threw 2 parties. Everybody had fun. Everybody wanged. Everybody chunged.
No regrets. That's my motto. That and everybody Wang Chung tonight.
Because it really has that 80s element
It does.
that is just, it's party time, man.
Yeah.
Have a good time, you know,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's still getting used, you know, all the time, you know, regularly now.
Everybody Wang Chung tonight.
I always was curious, when you were working on Mosaic, did you and Nick ever struggle with the direction of the band at that time? Because here you are, you had Dance Hall Days.
Dance. And I dance all
But then you do To Live and Die in LA.
to live and die in LA.
It's kind of a hard thing to be smack dab in the middle of art and commerce. You have to write the hits, but you also want to write something that is the reason that blood flows through your veins. I mean, I know that you're very much that type of a person, as I've spoken to you in the past, that it has to mean something. And so was that ever something that was there?
Yeah, it sort of came, I think it probably came to a head more with The Warmer Side of Cool, actually, the album after, you know. With Mosaic, I think, you know, Nick and David Massey, our manager, decided that they wanted to work with Peter Wolf. Peter had just had a big hit with We Built This City on Rock and Roll. And he'd had a hit with Heart, with These Dreams, I think. And this kind of stuff, which was frankly music that I didn't like very much, you know. But, you know, I also saw that I saw there was a game to be played. And, you know, it's like, and sure, Jack, if you want to write another song like To Live and Die in LA and do that, fine. Do you know what I mean? But you won't have a record deal, you know. So you got to play this game, you know. So I kind of thought, okay, that's what I got to do, you know. So I remember, you know, Peter was from Vienna in Austria, although he'd lived in LA for many years and he was in Frank Zappa's band, and you know, he trained as a sort of concert pianist, basically. But then he went AWOL and joined Frank's band. And
Jam in Joe's garage. His mama was screaming, his dad was mad.
you know, he's an amazing musician, Peter, and I respected that a lot about him, and I respected his work ethic as well, you know. And so you know, for me, making an album was always about making something with a lot of variety in it, you know, because growing up listening to Beatles records, I thought that's what an album was. Do you mean? I didn't think it was all had to sound the same, which is kind of what seems to be the assumption, or I think it was always a record company's assumption. They want a hit record, you know, and then 4 other tracks that sort of sound a bit like it. But I was kind of like, no, you know, an album is like Taxman. Eleanor Rigby. Variety is the thing, you know. So I felt comfortable within that, you know. So the tracks, you know, you know, The World in Which We Live on Mosaic, you know, I guess was the track that I put a lot of effort into. But I think, you know, we did try and embrace, you know, with Everybody Have Fun Tonight, it's making it seem like I'm sort of distancing myself from it, and I'm not. I was really into it. But I kind of like again, one of the things I loved about making Mosaic was that Peter knew all the session singers and players in LA, and he got Saida Garrett to come in and sing with us on some of the tracks. And Saida at that time was working with Michael Jackson on Thriller and stuff, and she wrote Man in the Mirror for Michael. She was such a talented girl, such an amazing singer and presence, and I felt very kind of like inspired to do better, So I became the front man and the singer, which I felt ill-equipped to do in many ways, but it fell to me, I can remember standing in the studio doing some backing vocals for it might have been Eyes of the Girl or something like that, and there were 5 or 6 backing singers there, and just listening to them tuning up in the room and singing, and the resonance of their voices, do you know what I mean? And I was standing in there with them, like directing them to sing, and I felt like such a flake, really, do you know what I mean? Like with my little voice, because I'd never had a singing lesson in my life, so hearing those guys and going to Graceland for the first time and really getting into Elvis, those two things were transformative in my sense of what singing's all about.
When you would say when you sing Everybody Wang Chung Tonight, it's really about a feeling, not the word. That song is very much a pick-me-up. The original demo of the song was made around the Christmas holiday.
Yeah.
It was a year or two before Mosaic. Tell me about that.
I think a year before. Yeah. Not so long before. But yeah, we were making it around the Christmas holidays. And the demo version, well, on the orchestral album that we did back in 2019, is that when it came out? We do a version of Everybody Have Fun Tonight, like a reprise of it. And that orchestral version is, obviously there's the sort of an orchestral version of like the hit version, but there's also a return to the song at the end of the album, and that is essentially the demo. Dance in every room. And essentially that's how I wanted it to sound. This big orchestral Christmassy kind of thing, and so yeah, that was all part of the thinking originally.
So that kind of had a little bit to do with it when you were doing around the Christmas time, that kind of festive spirit.
Yeah, it did. I remember putting these sparkly bells on it, and in those days there was a keyboard called an emulator. We couldn't afford a Fairlight, and I think the Synclavier had come out, and we certainly couldn't afford those. They were literally like $250,000, these things. But we had an emulator. They were like $10,000 or something. So we got the record company to get us one, I think. But they were great for their, little 8-bit samples, terrible bandwidth and stuff. But, they had French horns that sounded a bit like French horns, and strings that sounded a bit like strings. And so we could mock up this kind of orchestral thing. And funnily enough, when we were doing the orchestral version with the real orchestra, Nick was kind of like, well, where are those French horns? And I go, well, it's sort of in there. He goes, yeah, but they don't have that bite, do they? No, I guess we could put samples in to do that. And he was like, well, I think we should. So we're not going back to the emulator exactly, but, there is a bit of sample in there just to get a certain what it is to the sound.
It's that really high part for you
Yeah.
that is really great, but man, I don't know how you hit those notes.
Yeah, but in the studio, everything's possible. It was doing it live that was the problem. Yeah, no, I remember working with Peter on it, and Synclavier was his instrument, and that had some great drum samples on it and stuff. So I think he constructed a drum part, and the feel that the drums have, I really love on that record, actually. They've got this, they're kind of quite rock and square in a way. But they've got this forward driving thing that has a lot of personality, a lot of Peter's personality in it somehow, And we just sort of built it up, I think, I was playing my Fender Strat in those days, going through a JC 120, quite a sort of sparkly classic sound, 80s kind of sound, Yeah, we worked for a few weeks in London on it, and then we worked for a few weeks in Vienna, because that part of my deal, if we're going to work with Peter, then let's at least make it fun for me. So we spent about 7 or 8 weeks in Vienna, I think, working in a beautiful studio just outside of the city. But we stayed right in the city. Nick and I had a hotel there. Those were the days. And so some days I just sort of stay in the city, and some evenings I'd go and watch the orchestra and the Vienna Philharmonic, and I went to the opera a couple of times. And, I was sort of fascinated by all that stuff and learning about it. I didn't know it, if you know what I mean, but I went to see a Wagner opera at the Opera House and finding it quite confronting, but but I just found it fascinating, and the whole cultural thing of Central Europe, was just, it was great. So for me, it was a real time of growing and sort of expanding my sort of horizons and so on, and partly because my attitude was kind of like, well, you guys, you've got the vision, so go for it, I was a little more hands-off with it all. And that, again, was good for me, to think that, I didn't have to do everything to make it good.
I love the part, too, in the song where it kind of comes together, jingling, kind of the jangly guitar. The production of it, brilliant.
Yeah, you did a great job.
And then the high notes that you're hitting, I mean, there's so many. The song just builds and it just keeps going along, and that's what I like about it. It comes back to the verse.
In the world tonight, I hope it's safe.
It's a little more subtle, and then it starts building back up. Everybody, and it becomes that party song. That's what I love about it.
Yeah, no, it's a cool record, and I mean, playing it live is always a blast, and people love it. And it has got, there's something about it. Yeah, it's kind of got a lot of character in it, and over the, I think to begin with, I was a bit, what's the word? I sort of thought, it's just too obvious that we're trying to have a hit sort of thing, but that's what we needed to do. And as I said earlier, that was the game that had to be played. I mean, it's like, if you don't want to play the game, you should be doing something else. So, and I think we did it with a degree of integrity, do you know what I mean? And the balance between me, Nick, and Peter, I think, produced something that was, pulls in different directions a bit, and that kind of tension is good. I think that adds to the strength of the tune.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Leave us a comment about Wang Chung. I think they're so underrated. I love these guys. Great guys, too. This song, tell us your memories of that year in pop culture, the catchphrase, how it inspired you back in the 80s, what you remember about the music video. Let's have a great Love Fest for 1986, a great year in pop culture and in music. If you like our content, we do invite you to subscribe below. We'd love to have you. Till next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friend.